Hello there, thank you for joining me for a more in-depth look at the N1 Starfighter. This is the Revell model kit. I've had this in my stash for about 1 if not 2 years now. I had it as a Christmas present and just really hadn't got around to building it. Decided with the movie coming out in May just gone that I wanted to get this sort of ahead of the queue and get them built. And yeah, there's been a few challenges, a few setbacks here and there, but otherwise I'm really pleased with how the model's turned out. I have, of course, opted to light the model, and I'm using a remote switch for that. I'll just turn the overhead light off so you can see what's going on. So we've got the front engines lit, or front of the engines lit, I should say. Of course, the back iconic blue glow, all taken care of with LED filaments, and of course full lighting on the cockpit. That's not the only thing that I've changed on this as well. I've actually installed a dimmer switch in the neck of the droid port, and if you turn the droid slightly up and down, at the moment the batteries are fully charged, but this does act as a dimmer switch for a lot of the circuit as well. So it's just an extra feature that I put in. Initially I was going to use that as the switch, but unfortunately what I was told were rotary switches turned out to be a dimmer, hence why you had to rejig a lot of the electronics. I'm just going to get the ship in a different position so I can explain what's going on with that. So under the ship I've got a LiPo battery, I've got a remote key fob sensor, that is my power conduit in, and that is a step converter or buck converter. So I've got my USB-C in to change the input of that charging board. The charging board, I've got 2 strands of fiber optic to give me my charge indicator. That's linked to the battery and the switch. And the switch then sends the power back up to the main body of the ship. Super simple circuit, which provides the desired effect. The cockpit can slide, but I decided to remove the canopy to manhandle the figure. And of course this is zoomed in at the minute, but this is the GAN body 3D print. The only issue with this printed file is that the right leg there didn't come with that plate. I had to sculpt that out of green stuff. It's not 100% accurate, but it just does a good job of replacing the plate that was missing. For reference, the figure that you would get to the ship would be basically this. I mean, for side-by-side comparison, I don't really think you can argue with the outcome of what was the better choice. Scaling might be a little bit small on this particular Mandalorian as I look at him in the ship, but I can always correct that by printing off another one, painting in, potentially modifying some of his sitting position just to account for any sort of differences there. So just under the ship, I found the base was very bland and basic, so I wanted to try and give it a bit more visual interest. I went with a mudhorn signet, as that's very specific to the Mandalorian himself, and it made more sense to basically go down that route and to incorporate on the stand. The rod that supports the electronic side of the ship is simply brass rod that's been bent into shape to allow it to accommodate fitting on a stand and obviously going into the ship itself. Very simple. Decals on the ship went down pretty well. Not 100% sure on the alignment of that yellow on that side, but otherwise the rest of it, really pleased with how it's turned out. The burn marks, or like the worn metal effect, that was achieved using clear brown and clear purple. It's a great way to represent charred metalwork. And otherwise, like I said, the detail on the ship is very good. I did take a few creative licenses and decided to use a lot of bronze and silvers and chromes on some of the engine parts, which on the instruction manuals called for a very muted colour scheme. And I decided, given this is a hand-built ship in law, I just thought it needed a little bit more attention. Right, I've gone with some copper pipes down there, and I've just tried to pull out a few little highlights here and there. I haven't uniformed the parts there, with a view that whilst they are original parts, there may be some differences from when Mando and Perry put the ship together. Hence why I've gone there. You'll also notice that I've tried to put in some scuff work and some metal pitting on the chrome as well, to try and sort of enhance that detail. That fingerprint's not meant to be there. That's probably from pressing too hard, mounting it earlier on. I'll try and sand that back if need be, but otherwise it's looking good. The cannons are in. I did have to drill out the mounting holes on the cannons to get them in right, and the engine block. I'm pretty okay with that detail. I do wish there was a little bit more detail on it. In hindsight, I should have taken the opportunity to drill out the ports and maybe pop in some styrene to make it look like the valves are sort of opening and closing, like you'd see in like a hot rod engine. But on the whole, I'm really pleased with the build. It's taken a long time to get to this stage, but it's completed, and I'm really happy with the fact that it's on a remote keychain as well. There's no clunky switches to reach in. I can just grab this off a hook off the wall or something and just light it up. Easy as that. The other thing I like about this as well is that once the battery's charged, there's no dependence on a USB cable. However, I have since bought a lot of USB-C adapters, so all my builds, past and present, will receive that update and upgrade, especially some of the electronic work with some of the other ships that I've got behind me there. They could really do with an upgrade on some base work, so perhaps stay tuned for those videos in the future. But for the last time in all its glory, this is the Mandalorian N1 Starfighter by Revell, and this is a completed build. Take care, see you in the next one.